You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
T-Wolves make it 3 in a row with another victory over Miami tonight, 122-94. That's the final. What's going on back in the lab? Back at it, another T-Wolves postcast, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks to you guys, by the way, now the #1 sports podcast network. That's Jack Borman, a Wolves expert, NBA expert. Give him a follow on X, at Jared Borman13, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. And, of course, go follow our guy, Ben Beacon, host of the Locked On Timberwolves show each and every day as well. Lots to get into, Jack. Game MVP. I want to ask you about that biggest turning point, plus what we'll be talking about tomorrow from this one. But, just off the top, as we always do, Wolves continue this kind of long stretch here against Eastern Conference opponents. 10 of 11 for the Wolves when you count the next two versus Cleveland coming up. We'll talk about that in segment 2. And a rematch with Miami, obviously, tonight, who we just saw on Saturday with that 125-115 victory. And, outside of that loss, by the way, on Saturday for Miami's been kind of red hot, winners of 5 of their last 6. So this was, for me, one of those on paper that sometimes the Wolves just don't show up for whatever reason. Not the case tonight, though. Great energy from the jump. And really put the throttle down in the second half to kind of run away with this thing. Again, 122-94. Ant with a team-high 26. Jaden McDaniels finally gets cooking again. He had 19, and the Wolves now 24-13 on the year. Top 2, maybe 3 biggest takeaways, Jack, that really stuck out the most from this one.
Yeah, first and foremost is just a fantastic win for the Wolves, I think. This is a really good Miami team. I think the Miami team that we saw tonight was just stifled by this Timberwolves defense. But this is a team that's been red hot, especially offensively, coming in 5-1 in their last 6. They get Tyler Hero back tonight, who I thought played really well off the bench, having 17 and 9 and 28 minutes off the bench coming back from a toe injury that kept him out for 11 games. So I think, again, for the Timberwolves, how often do you get a night where pretty much every guy who played well? Mm-hmm. And that was certainly the case tonight for the Timberwolves, including the guys who came in, played the last 5 minutes of the game. I thought all 5 guys, had their moments, which is good to see. But again, this Miami Heat team, I could go down the ledger and list everything that they've been phenomenal at over the last 5 games. But, just looking at it, I thought that they would really need to limit the Heat to 40 combined points off turnovers and second chance points. Miami averages a combined 44 a game over the last 5, which is first in the NBA. And they held them to 37 on Saturday en route to that win that they had in Miami. Tonight, Luke, they held them to 10 combined second chance and points off turnovers.
Domination.
Miami had been averaging 26.5 points per game off of turnovers as first in the league by a wide margin. The Wolves held them to 16 on Saturday. They had 3 in the first half, 2 in the second half for 5 total. Second chance points, Miami's 5th in second chance points per game the last 5, 3rd in offensive rebound percentage. They have 17.5 points per game on second chances. The Wolves allowed 21 on Saturday, so they did beat them up there. But tonight they had, again, 3 in the first half, 2 in the second half. Miami shot 2 of 12. 17% on second chances tonight, which is a huge credit to the way that the Timberwolves just kind of swarmed and attacked the ball and made it really difficult for them to come up with clean possessions on second chances. And then again, Minnesota ran really well in transition off of stops. And I thought that they did a great job of, forcing Miami into situations where they had to foul guys and, 2-on-1 or 1-on-1 situations on the break. And the Wolves, 23-16 in free throw attempts, which was great. But in the first half, it was a little bit of a wider margin. In terms of free throw attempts, it was 17-6, and seven different Timberwolves players shot free throws, which is great. That just kind of speaks to the team-wide aggression that we saw. And then, the Timberwolves won on the fast break, 23-11. Miami over the last 5, second in the NBA in fast break points at 23 a game. They shoot 25% on the break tonight and score, like I said, just 11 fast break points. So for the Wolves to be, plus 24 in the paint, where Miami has had, I believe, one of the best, if not the best. They're 12th in points in the paint differential, but plus 3.6. The Wolves are plus 24 there. They're plus 9 in second chance point differential. Miami's been 3rd there the last 5 games. And then in terms of fast break point differential, Miami's been the best in the league at plus 10.4. The Wolves won that area by 12 tonight. So the fact that the Wolves were kind of turning a lot of Miami's strengths into strengths of their own and winning in those areas of the game was very important. And then my other big takeaway is great to see Dante DiVincenzo get his shot back a little bit, right? Came in tonight making just 4 of his last 23 three-pointers, 17% over his last 3 games. And he started tonight 0 of 4. And I think some fans are kind of audibly groaning when he let shots up and they didn't go down. And I think fans really kind of wanted to burst out and explode when that one finally went in. And they had to wait a little bit. I mean, not only was he 0 of 4 from 3 early in this game, but I thought he really struggled defensively in a way that we haven't seen from him much of late, for sure. I mean, Norm Powell came out, had 8 very quick points in the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Andrew Wiggins was attacking him on switches. Tyler Hero went after him in one-on-one situations quite a bit in the second quarter, but he stayed with it like he always does and made 4 second-half three-pointers, which was great to see. He ended up 4 of 9 from 3 for the game. He was a plus 18, and 2 of those threes that he made near the end of the third quarter helped kind of put the game out of reach before the fourth quarter even arrived for the Heat, which was great to see. So a really strong game from Dante, who again just continues to be all sorts of good energy for the Timberwolves.
Well said there. Great breakdown per usual. Let's get into the player of the game, our game MVP. Hand a little love, hand out some flowers here.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
All right, so you got 6 players in double digits tonight. Ant, obviously, again, leading the way with 26. Jaden got cooking with 19, something we've kind of all been banging the table for. Naz Reid with 14. But pick one, though, Jack. Tonight's player of the game for the Wolves. Who was it and why?
Yeah, it's going to be Anthony Edwards for me, right? I mean, you talked about him. When was the last time the Wolves had all 5 starters in double figures? It's been a while, right? But it's Anthony Edwards for me tonight. And I just think the way that, I looked up at the game in the first half and just kind of thought to myself, he makes offense look so incredibly easy in a way that is just kind of scary. And that's how it felt for Ant. For him to see 2 threes go down right away early in this game, did a great job in the second quarter with Julius Randle and getting really physical downhill, which was important to see. And then I thought that Ant's defense was great. And I thought that that's something that we haven't seen a ton this season, but I think it just speaks to just how devastating of a player Anthony Edwards can be, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but also on the defensive side of the ball. I thought he walled up on drives, especially on some bigger guys like Nikola Jovic. Also played great defense on Pelle Larsson. And then Norm Powell, right? Talked about Norm Powell had 8 points in the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And Norm Powell had 13 points the final 27 minutes that he played on the floor. And a lot of that was because Anthony Edwards said, you know what, guys, I got him. I'm going to take the challenge of guarding Miami's best perimeter player. And he delivered. And also, box scores don't show forced turnovers, but I would, outside of steals, I think Ant probably forced 3 or 4 more turnovers than the one steal he was credited with. And then he also had 2 blocks defending the rim. So I think for Ant, it was just a really solid 2-way performance from him. And I thought his offense came at some important times when the Wolves offense was kind of lagging a little bit. And I think, with the way that the Timberwolves offense exploded after that first quarter, I think it's kind of easy to forget that this Timberwolves offense got off to a pretty slow start. And Ant was really all they had and kind of kept them in it because the Heat were really controlling the tempo of the game. And when the Heat control the tempo of the game, they play really fast. They get you, they force stops and then they go run off stops. That's why they've been winning a lot of these games, not just handily, but blowing out teams and scoring in the 130s and 140s. So I thought Ant's offense was really important to kind of slow that down. And then, again, bought time for Rudy Gobert to just make an indelible impact on this game on both ends of the floor. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But, Ant's the MVP by a smidge over Rudy tonight.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So up 7 at halftime, going into the locker room after, a really good second quarter, Jack. And then from there, it just felt like things only got better, kept ramping up sequence by sequence for the Wolves. It was just one of those kind of staple T-Wolves third quarters that we get when this team is clicking. But you tell me, though, Jack, was there one moment, one maybe sequence that really ended up feeling like the difference that the Wolves kind of just started to run away with this thing as you were kind of sitting there watching in real time tonight?
Yeah, for sure. I thought the Wolves, had some nice momentum going into the halftime locker room, but I thought that coming out of the halftime locker room is really where they took this game from, what could be a really close game to a game that felt like they were in complete control of. And it was a really high energy start from them out of the break. They started on a 10-4 run, got the lead up to 13, and it kind of stayed there for the next 5-6 minutes. And it was just nice to see a bunch of different guys make an impact. I mean, all 5 guys on the floor had their hand in some really nice plays in the early part of that third quarter. Jaden had a really nice take and then a block. Ant and Dante both made threes, and then Rudy finished a lob from Julius Randle in transition. And then on the other end of the floor, Rudy Gobert was anchoring a paint defense that was
so good,
absolutely phenomenal tonight. And I thought early in this game, Rudy's teammates put him in a really bad position where, namely Julius Randle was and Dante to a certain extent, we're both struggling on the defensive end of the floor, letting guys get into the paint, having some miscommunications on switches, and Rudy was kind of out to dry. But even then, he still did an excellent job of corralling contested rebounds, boxing guys out so other players could come in and get rebounds, and then doing his best to kind of play 1-on-2 or 1-on-3 defense and still come out with stops. And again, for the Timberwolves, I mean, the Heat came in scoring 58 points in the paint over their last 5 games. That's 4th in the NBA. They had 50 on Saturday, which is right at the league average. And then tonight they had 20 in the first half on 39% shooting in the paint. The second half they had 19 on 40% shooting, 41% shooting in the paint. So to hold them to 39 points on sub 40% shooting in the paint is pretty remarkable for a team that moves and plays as fast as the Heat do. And I think Rudy deserves an immense amount of credit for that. I mean, he was a starter high plus 20. He had 17 rebounds. He only had like 2 rebounds in the first 5 minutes of this game. So he really turned it on defensively, which was great. And then he made all 3 of his free throws, which was great to see. Well, another double-double for Rudy, 13 points, 17 boards, and then added 3 blocks as well. So I think, he did absolutely everything that you could ask him to do. And I thought that, again, for the Wolves to be a plus 24 in the paint, I think it's the 4th time in the last 6 games that the Timberwolves have scored at least 60 points in the paint, which is a monster number. So Rudy Gobert has had a ton to do with that. And the Timberwolves have just been winning the paint battle as a whole. And I think when you have a guy like Rudy Gobert that elevates your floor to a really, really, really high level, and then you layer in how well all the other starters played in this game, Naz Reid off the bench too. I mean, this Timberwolves team can be scary when they put it all together, but it's just a matter of how often can they put it all together.
A couple quick hitters in segment 2, one of which I want to ask you more about Rudy Gobert, plus what we'll be talking about tomorrow. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Monarch Money. You ever go check your bank account and go, where'd my money go? Could be dining out, could be online shopping, could be entertainment. It is so easy to lose track of your money, isn't it? That's where Monarch Money comes in. Not just another budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, your spending. It's all in one place, so you stop just managing your money, and instead you start building some wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. You're getting 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your entire first year. This episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Without a doubt, most fun I have playing daily fantasy. You can win up to 25 times your money this NBA season. Why I love it. So easy to play. All you got to do, you select 2 or more players. You pick more or less on their projected stats. Could be points, rebounds, assists, 3-pointers, you name it, they got it. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Right now, go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA. You're getting a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LockedOnNBA at PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. 100% bonus match up to $100. All right, Jack, just real quick before we get into what we'll be talking about, empty your notes, maybe some rapid fire quick hitters. I'm kind of hoping you can try to explain just how big of an impact Rudy Gobert is having right now for this team, and how much of his play is kind of equating to success and to wins, just because I'm not sure people realize just how truly fantastic this dude's been lately.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what the Timberwolves' defensive rating is with Rudy Gobert on the court, I believe it's 2nd in the NBA behind the Oklahoma City Thunder. And with Rudy Gobert off the floor, it'd be the worst mark in the NBA. And I don't know that there are too many other players in the league that can boast that type of, defensive prowess. I mean, and then you talk about just the way
feels
that
like a Brian Flores Vikings stat, by the way. Like, okay, just a dominant defense, right, with Flores, and then I don't even want to know what it's going to look like without Flores. Hopefully not in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, and then you look at the run that Rudy's just been on really since that win over Golden State about a month ago.
Yeah.
I mean, Rudy Gobert's only had one game where he's had less than 10 rebounds, and he's only had 3 games where he's had less than 12 rebounds. So the fact of the matter is he's just been totally controlling the glass, not only on the defensive end of the floor, but also on the offensive end of the floor as well. And we talked about that the other night, that in a lot of his big rebounding games, he's been averaging about 2/3 defensive at 1/3 offensive, which, for the rate at which he's been rebounding puts him at like 5 offensive rebounds a game, which is absolutely spectacular. And then, again, he's been a really important part of why the Timberwolves paint success is taking place, not only on the defensive end of the floor, but on the offensive end of the floor as well. I think Timberwolves fans will remember, how difficult it was for Karl Anthony Towns to set screens when he was here. And when Rudy Gobert came to town, I mean, Timberwolves fans certainly appreciated the quality of screens he sets. And for a guy that sets as many screens as he does, very rarely gets called for moving screens and creates wide open runways for not only Anthony Edwards, but Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, in some cases Dante DiVincenzo and Bones Highland to get downhill and get into the paint. And so for the Timberwolves, looking at it, you look at basically just their kind of team game logs here. I mean, they've done an excellent job of winning the points in the paint battle in these games that they've been winning. And for the Timberwolves, like I said, it's the 4th time in their last 6 games they've had at least 58 points in the paint. Is just remarkable. And in each of these last 4 wins, they've won the points in the paint battle by tonight. What they won it by? They won by 24 tonight, won by 28 against Washington, 8 against Miami the other night, and then in Chicago they won by 10. So I think that's kind of been a really important recipe for the Timberwolves, considering that they haven't really shot the ball all that well from 3. I mean, tonight they shot 14 of 39, 36%. That's below what they average on the season. And just looking at it, they've the last 2 games they won, they shot sub 30% in that game. And really the only game that they shot well from 3 in the last 5 games was that Bulls game. They shot 41% from 3. So I think it just speaks to what Rudy Gobert is able to kind of bring you on both ends of the floor and kind of help you survive some 3-point shooting variance, which I think anybody who watches the NBA today understands is a big part of what can swing wins and losses.
This is what you'll be talking about.
So what we'll be talking about tomorrow, maybe just an extension of what you're just kind of laying down right there with the domination of Rudy Gobert. If you were just a casual NBA fan and you watched the Wolves these past 5, 10, 12 games, Jack, I'd feel like one of your biggest takeaways would be the way this team is really just controlling and almost dominating the paint, right? The 2-point game. I'm sure you got some more statistics or analytics that can verify or back that up, but just talk to me about that part of the game. Maybe how it's grown for this team. Is Rudy Gobert the sole catalyst to it all? And also, too, like, how important is that part of the game as the season kind of wears on and teams enter the playoffs, too?
Yeah, again, I just think sometimes scoring in the paint can be more reliable than and defending the paint can be more reliable than making threes or your opponent missing threes. And so I think, now the Timberwolves are 17-5 when they score at least 50 points in the paint, which is league average. Yeah. So when they are just above league average, they're winning games at a really high rate, 17-5. And then I think that would make them 6-8 when they score less than 50. So I think that's just really important. And then again, for Rudy, I mean, not only is it defending shots at the rim, but he does such a good job of keeping guys away from the rim. Like tonight, the Heat, 13 of 26 at the rim. That's a 50% is a super low shooting percentage at the rim. Mm-hmm. The league average is much closer to 70%. And then in the short, kept them in the short mid-range in that paint, right? They had 22 shots from 4 to 14 feet in the paint. They shot 6 of 22 on those shots, and Rudy Gobert has a ton to do with that. 27%. So I think when you kind of have a one-man kind of defensive interior like the Timberwolves do, it allows guys to be able to fly around more on the perimeter, make plays, get out and run in transition, get easy buckets like they did tonight, scoring 23 fast break points. So that's obviously great to see. And then it helps get guys like Jaden McDaniels going, and the Timberwolves certainly needed to get him going, and they did tonight. Right, they're now 8-3, I believe, when Jaden scores at least 17, and had 19 points, second most shot attempts for Jaden. So hopefully he can keep that rolling, and hopefully we can see the Timberwolves have more games where all 5 starters are in double figures, and then Naz is also in double figures. So great night for the Timberwolves offensively, and then allowing 94 points defensively is about as good as it gets in today's NBA. You are muted, my man.
Fantastic stuff per usual, Jack. T-Wolves keep beating up on the Eastern Conference. They beat up on Miami tonight, 24-13 now on the year. Much love to all you guys, all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys coming in the chat with us from game to game as well. Like and subscribe, please, if you haven't already. And go follow Jack, too, at JR Borman 13. We'll catch you back here Thursday evening. Wolves staying at home with Cleveland coming to town. Again, Thursday, 7 p.m. tip for that. Until then, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time. Signing.